5 and 6. Okay. I got good news and bad news. 5 is word problems, and it is due tomorrow. 6, I'm going to move to the next homework check, okay? 7, I mean. Because the quiz tomorrow is like 3, 4, and 5, so you need to do those, okay? I thought I was going to be done with worksheet 6 yesterday, so then I expected you would have today to get 7 finished up, but since we're not done with 6 yet, I'll move 7 to next week because it's not on this quiz anyway, all right? That being said, please listen. We're going to talk about matrix multiplication today. If you don't look at this again until next Thursday, yeah, you're not going to remember how to multiply matrices, okay? So don't leave this until next week to do, and or take really good notes so you can figure out what you did on the notes. So here we go. We talked about all this yesterday, and we got to this point. We started talking about multiplication. Now, give me a second. This wasn't working earlier, so we'll see if I'm going to have a bad day or a good day. Oh, it seems to be working now. Okay. Matrix multiplication, if you look right here, a 2 by 2, here's the rule. It's A times E plus B times G, A times F plus B times H, C times E plus D. Does it just make your head hurt? Okay. It's really complicated, right? The bottom line is you can only multiply if this number is equal to this number. So if this is matrix A and this is matrix B and the dimensions are 1 by 4 and 4 by 4, you can do it because this middle number is the same. The resulting answer will be this dimension by this dimension. Now, I made a better slide of this, I think. Okay, it says these two in the middle must match, and these on the outside tell you the dimension of the resulting matrix. All right, I'm going to talk about this example. Did we talk a little bit about this yesterday, the refinishing and the table chairs? Okay. Chairs, table, dresser. What size is this matrix? Just tell me that. This one is a 3 by 3. What does the first 3 represent? The rows represent chair, table, dresser, right? So the item that he's working on. I don't know why I assume it's a man refinishing furniture. Could be a woman. Okay. The other 3 is what he's doing, yes? I said he again. Removing, sanding, and finishing. Okay? What is being done to the item? This is the work. What size is this little matrix over here? 3 by 1. What is that 3? Removing, sanding, finishing. It's the work, right? What is the 1? The hourly cost. It's dollars, yes? So if I want to find the resulting matrix when I multiply, can I do that first of all? Yes, because this 3 is equivalent to this 3, right? What size will the answer be? 3 by 1. That resulting 3 by 1 will be item by cost. This will be the item by the cost. So think about this for a minute. 3 by 1. It's going to give me the chair, the table, and the dresser, and how much it costs. So, help me out here. Half an hour at $7 an hour. Does that make sense? Plus 2.5 hours at $18 an hour. Plus 1 hour at $10 an hour. That would give you the cost of a chair. Is this making sense? So somebody tell me how you'd find the cost of a table.
1 times 7 plus 4 times 18 plus 1.5 times 10.
Does that make sense when we talk about it that way? The reason you would multiply the row by the column, and then you would add them up and you give them the total cost. All right. We could do that if we have time on the calculator later. But so this shows again, this was a 3 by 2 times a 2 by 2. So what size was the answer going to be? 3 by 2. Okay? So they multiplied this row by this column and got that answer. And then they multiplied the same row by the second column and got that answer. And then they went back and did the next row by the first column. And it gets really confusing. I like this little diagram right here, because when you multiply matrix A times matrix B, look up here. See this box right here? What row is that in? Row 1, column 2. It is in row 1, column 2. To find that answer, you are multiplying row 1 by column 2. Does that help? Maybe? Let's look down here. What is this in? In the new answer, it's in row 3, column 3, yes? So they took row 3 of the first matrix times column 3 of the second to get that spot. All right? We talked yesterday. So to get this spot right here, what would I do? What's the name of that spot right there? Row 2, column 2, yes? This is row 2, column 2. So I would take row 2 times column 2. I would do 4 times 8 plus 5 times 10 plus 6 times 12. Yes. Yes. Matrix multiplication is not commutative. I can multiply this first matrix that's 2 by 3 times the second one that's 3 by 2. But sometimes I can't multiply them in the other order, and if I do multiply them in the other order, I get a totally different answer. Okay, it's not the same as regular multiplication. That's a great question. Order matters. Okay, here we go. We're going to try number 9. What size is this first one? 2 rows across by 3 columns up and down. This one is, careful, 3 rows across by all in 1 column. Can we do this? Yes. What size will the answer be? 2 by 1. All right, so we're going to have one big column with 2 rows in it. I'm going to make it really big so you can see it, because I'm going to write out all my work. Okay, and that's really crooked. I apologize. All right, right. Oh, it doesn't help that I'm sitting like facing the other direction here. Okay, this first row is going to be multiplied by this column. So can you tell me actually what I'm doing there? Yeah, I'm going to add each element as I multiply. So it's 0 times -4 plus 2 times 0 plus -4 times +5, which just comes out to be a lovely -20. Well, could I tilt that one the other direction? Looks like I was drinking my lunch today. Okay. Second row times the same column, yes? We're going to do this row times this column again. So it's 4 times -4 plus what? -4 times 0 plus? Okay. That's -16 plus 30, which is 14 on a good day. All right. This is what it will look like on the test or quiz. Next week, not this week. It is a B. This is a letter B. I put that in there because in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to do this on your calculator, okay? You can't do it on your calculator if it's got a B. All right, what size is the answer going to be? 2 by 2. Okay, here I go, color coding. I'm going to do green first. It's always row times column. That's what students get confused about, is they want to do column times row. First row times first column gives me what? Tell me what to write. Plus. Okay. which when we simplify that in a minute is just going to be negative 18 minus 5b. There's nothing nice about it. All right? Color coding. What's this one up here going to be? What am I multiplying? Row 1 in blue times, this time it's in column 2, so I'm multiplying by column 2. 6 times negative 6 plus negative 5 times negative 5 is negative 36 plus positive 25 is negative 11 maybe. Okay, I need this entry. Tell me the name of that spot right there. Row 2, column 1. So therefore I am multiplying row 2 by column 1. 1 times negative 3, whoops, just kidding, that doesn't look very good, plus 3 times b, which becomes, there we go. Do I have another color to use? How about tealy or orange? Let's try this one. Okay. Now we got to do row 2 times column 2. So we have 1 times negative 6 plus 3 times negative 5. That looks the same as the red to me, but anyway. Okay, what do we get? This simplifies, doesn't it?
Yup.
Negative 6 plus negative 15 is negative 21. Did someone else get that? Okay. Final answer. Now, I'll tell you when I put it on test your quiz, I like to throw a couple zeros in because it gets so much easier with their zeros in there. All right.
We appreciate that.
But I will throw a letter in so that you can't do it on your calculator because that's just the way I roll. Okay. I want to see if you know how to do it. All right. What about this one? Oh, you guys already got that? Let's see. This is a 3 by 2. And this is a 1 by 2. So it's not possible. You can write undefined. You can write not possible. If it were on the calculator and you type, if you put those in and you tried to multiply them on the calculator in a few minutes, I'm going to show, you would write, it will give you a message that said dimension mismatch. Does that seem to make sense at this point? The dimensions don't match, okay? And you can write that, but you can also just write undefined or no solution. Okay, this one's evil. Don't hate. It's got a lot of letters in there, okay? I would not give you one like this on a quiz. But this is a 3 by 2 and a 2 by 1. So what are we going to get? 3 by 1. Okay. All right. So what am I going to multiply first? Yes, it is. Row 1 times column 1. Okay, negative a times negative 6b would be positive 6ab. And then 4 times ba, which is really the same as 4ab. So that one simplifies to 10ab. I think it's the only one that simplifies, honestly, but we'll see. Okay. Then we do row 2 times column 1 over here. Negative times a negative again gives us positive 12 what? A squared b plus a squared times ba would be a cubed b, yep, or a to the third b. That doesn't simplify, right? So 12a squared b plus a cubed b. I'm going to squish it in there. All right. Finally, row 3 times this column is positive 30b. Is that right? And then plus an ab or a ba. Can we add those together? It would be best if we did not attempt to add those together and get it wrong. Yes. All right. Got it? Maybe?
Yeah, it's just a pain.
You need me to make up one more for practice?
But I would love that.
Not right now? What size is number 10 on the homework? Ugh. Do you want me to? You're using up your time, your opportunity to get some of those word problems knocked out with me. But tell me what it says. Number 10 on the homework says what? 3 by 2? No. Like that, right? Is that what you're telling me the first one is? Okay. And what are the numbers? Had to throw that A in there. Okay. Then the second one is a... Okay. All right. What size will the resultant be? This is a 3 by 2 times a 2 by 2. So the resultant will be a 3 by 2. Okay. How do we do the first one? Row 1 times column 1. Good news. There's a 0. So we get negative 6 times 0 plus 5 times 2 is 10. All right. At least there's no A in the next one. We do row 1 times column 2. So negative 6 times negative 6 plus 5 times 4 is 36 plus 20, right? 56 maybe? How did I do? Okay, now what? Go back, but I'm going back to... What's wrong? Didn't I get that? Oh. Now we got to go back to the second column, but the second row, but the first column. So 5 times 0 plus 5 times 2, which would be 10 again. Second row times second column is 5 times negative 6 plus 5 times 4. Negative 30 plus 20 is... All right, row 3 times column 1. Oh, negative 2a times 0 plus 2 times 2. That was a good moment. We just get 4. Okay, I'm thinking this last one might have an A in it, though. Yeah, we got this one times this one is negative 2a times negative 6 would be positive 12a. Plus 2 times 4 would be 8. Better? Did it help to do one more, guys? All right, I'm moving on quickly. We're going to talk about the determinants. The determinant of a matrix is a special number that can be calculated from only a square matrix, like a 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3 or a 4 by 4, okay? The determinant of a 2 by 2 is very easy. You take the product of those two and you subtract the product of these two. Notice it says 3 times 6 minus 8 times 4 is negative 14.
What's the point of that?
It has to be this diagonal minus this diagonal. And so if you had A, B, C, D, it would be AD minus BC. Okay? This number, okay, the bottom, it says this determinant tells us things about the matrix that are useful in solving systems. It helps us find the inverse, which you're going to need in just a minute. Okay? The inverse undoes something. It's become very important next week. I will not make, okay, just humor me. Look, This is how you find the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix. Does this look fun? Okay. I am not going to ask you to do a 3 by 3 matrix by hand. Okay? No determinant, basically no anything with a 3 by 3. So we're going to find these determinants really quick. Go this way. What do you get? Negative 6. Go the other way. Multiply, you get negative 10. And what do you do with them? Subtract. So this becomes 4. That's it. The determinant is 4. What about on this one?
You wrote an A on our worksheet.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Because it does make it more complicated, of course. Hofbauer, what are you doing? Okay. So this way we're going to do, we get what? Negative 6. Minus, this way we get 12a. Okay. That's it. It is a single answer determinant. Now I'm going to tell you why you need to know one. Okay. You need to know the determinant to be able to find the inverse. We're going to do the inverse. We're going to talk about the inverse, then we're going to do it 3 different ways. One way you just watch Hofbauer do it the old-fashioned way. One way we learn the trick, and the third and favorite way is we use the calculator. All right? First of all, I'm using I'm sure, copyrighted site here that I'm taping for my lesson, but the inverse of a matrix, guys, the inverse idea is kind of a reciprocal. You know that if you want to get rid of 8, you multiply by 1/8 and you get 1, right? So if you had 8x equals 16, you could, in theory, multiply by 1/8 on both sides and solve, because you'd get 1x equals 2. Okay? So the inverse, the multiplicative inverse, was what got rid of it. It was a reciprocal. The same idea is true of a matrix. The multiplicative inverse, it will get rid of the matrix. It will get down to, instead of a 1, it will get down to what's called the identity matrix. This is all going to be done on the calculator eventually, okay? This is an identity matrix, guys. The identity matrix is when, I turned that off, didn't I? That was my problem. The identity that's what I meant to do. The identity matrix is a square matrix with all zeros except for this diagonal. So a square 2 by 2 identity matrix looks like this. Does that seem okay? If I asked you for a 4 by 4, could you figure it out? You just put 1s on that diagonal, everything else is a 0. Okay? That'd be easy. What happens is if you take the inverse of a matrix times the matrix, you get the identity matrix. And that will become more important when we go to solve systems with this next week. But to find the inverse by hand, you need the determinant. Okay? Or you need some really icky, long algebra. It's not icky, it's just long. I'm going to show you the icky long, and then we're going to talk about the shortcut. Put down your pencil and watch me. The inverse here is some unknown. And what is it supposed to get when I multiply by an inverse? Okay? Everybody all right? Whatever this is would be the inverse. So here's what I'm going to do for fun. I'm going to take this row times this column and set it equal to this. That would give me 2a plus 1c equals 1. Then I'm going to take this row times this column and set it equal to this entry, and that would give me 2b plus 1d equals 0. Then I'm going to take this row by this column and set it equal to this, and I'd have 3c plus 2d equals 0. And lastly, I would take this row times this column and set it equal to this, and I'd have 3b plus 2d equals 1. What did I do wrong? This was 3a plus 2c. Thank you. I don't know. Did I say it wrong? Or just write it wrong? Okay. That was this row times this column. Okay. Now this is a little baby system. Do you see that? It has only a's and c's. So I'm going to multiply this row by a -2 and write it down here. I get -4a minus 2c equals -2. I add those together. I get -a equals -2. A is 2. I plug a equals 2 back in here. I get 4 plus c equals 1. I subtract. I get c equals -3. Okay, don't talk. Just listen. This is another system. I'm going to multiply this one by -2 and rewrite it down here. I'll get -4b minus 2d equals 0. I add those two together. I get -b equals 1, so b is -1. I plug that back in here. It becomes -2 plus d equals 0, so d is 2. So my inverse would look like what? What's A? A is 2. B is -1, C was -3, and D was 2. Okay. You want to do them that way?
Probably literally have just been like, okay, well the inverse is 3 is
Yes. There is a shortcut. You have to first take the determinant. What's the determinant here? 4 minus 3 equals 1. Then here's the rule. For a 2 by 2, it says you swap the positions of A and D. We wouldn't have known that on this one because they were both 2's. And then you put negatives in front of B and C. So go back here for me. Swap the position of those 2's. Did we do that? Maybe. And then take this diagonal and change the numbers. But it also says, then divide everything by the determinant. Well, what was our determinant? Was 1, so it didn't change anything. Okay? This next one would not be so nice. I'm going to do number 16. I'm not going to use my method. I'm going to use their cheater method, and then we're going to use the calculator. It's pretty exciting.
All I heard was numbers.
Blah, 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 blah. Charlie Brown's teacher taught that lesson. Yes. Okay. All right, here we go. Determinant first. If this is matrix A, I'm going to write it like this because this is what it's going to look like on our calculator. The determinant of matrix A is -20 minus -18, which is -2. Okay, then the rule says you do what to that crummy little matrix over here? Flop these, so you get a 5 and a -4. And what do you do with the other diagonal?
Switch the signs.
Switch the signs. But then we're not done until we divide every entry by -2. So we get -5/2, +3/2, -3, and +2. Okay. Calculator will do it even faster, right? Okay, because is that a rule you need to remember the rest of your life, you think? Not so much.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. Calculator. The matrix key on your calculator. Everybody got your calculator out? The matrix key on the calculator is below the word math. Do you see in blue or something it says matrix right there? So you're going to go second and then the key right below the math, which has the little x to the -1. Find it? Okay, it's going to offer you this options across the top. We need to enter a matrix in, so we're going to scroll over to edit. So 2 to the right. Now you can pick wherever you want to put it. I think I'll put mine in B because I already have one in A. But you can put yours in A, it doesn't matter. I go down and I hit enter. It brings up where I need to enter the size I want. What size is ours? 2 by 2. So I do 2, enter, 2, enter. Now it has a little 2 by 2 matrix that I need to fill in. So this original problem, if I can scoot this over, which of course I can't because it hates me, is -4, enter, 3, enter, -6, enter, 5, enter. Okay, It'll do the inverse for us without finding the determinant, but I want to show you how to find a determinant so you can do it on your homework, okay? The first thing you have to do here is quit. I hate that, but you can't just clear, you have to quit out of it, okay? Everybody know how to do that, second mode? Now you're going to go back in to matrix. I know that seemed painful to quit and then go back in, but we're going to go over to the math. So arrow to the right once. What's the very first thing say? Determinant. So I'm going to hit enter. Now all I have on my home screen is the word determinant. What is it going to find the determinant of? I have to go back and tell it what to find the determinant of. So second, then that button. Oh, not that button. Just kidding.
The square root of.
This, okay? And then you have to put the right name in there. I'm going down and use B. You guys can put A, whatever. So that on my screen it now says find the determinant of that matrix. Hit enter and you get -2. That wasn't very exciting. If it's a 2 by 2, it was much faster to do it by hand and then enter it all in. But we want the inverse. So go back and do second, the matrix button, which I always get wrong. Go over to, yes, we're going to just put the name, I'm sorry. We're going to put the name of the matrix. You don't have to do any math for the inverse. We're going to put just the name. I'm going to use B. You can use A. Doesn't matter. I have it actually the same matrix in both. Okay. Then what you're going to do, remember what the symbol was for inverse? It's the little -1. Guess what key is the same for the matrix? Hit that little to the -1 power. Hit enter. Does it match what we did? Okay, it's in decimal. How about a little math enter action? All right.
I literally look forward to this class every day. I hope you know that.
All right. So, guys, I may ask you, I'm not sure, I may ask you on the next quiz next week to find the determinant of a 2 by 2. I will not ask you to find the inverse unless I ask you to use the calculator to do it. I promise, okay?
Okay, good, because I'm not going to remember how to do it.
And we will practice more next week. All right. I'm switching over to worksheet 5, and I'm going to answer every question you have that you can get through in 11 minutes. Which one? Number 1. Okay. Ranjay's student loans total $9,600. Part was in a Perkins loan, and part was in a Stafford loan. If you want me to use 2 equations, or 2 variables, I would use X and Y to represent the amount in each of those. And what is the total amount he has? So it would be X plus Y equals 9,600. Then what we need to know is the interest. We're basically using simple interest, I equals PRT, but he's talking about 1 year. So if we get rid of that variable, the interest is the amount times the rate, okay? So what amount does he have in Perkins is X. What is the rate on a Perkins?
5%.
So it's 0.05X. Plus, he also had some more interest coming from his Stafford, which was Y. What percent was that? 0.08Y equals the total interest from both combined was, now could you solve? If you would prefer to use one variable, you can easily use one variable by using substitution here. You could say he has some in this, and the rest of his $9,600 is in this account, and the interest was $633. Do you see what I did there? I just set this as Y equals 9,600 minus X and substituted it in there. Some of you can go straight to one variable. Whichever way you want, I'm going to let you solve it, because we don't have a lot of time. That took 90 seconds. Oh, we can do a whole bunch more. Yes. Number 4. We kind of talked about this situation the other day. Okay? Yep, you're fine. It is, the The speed of the plane with no wind is just the plane's speed. I'm just going to call it P, okay? See, it says 4 hours, 60 miles with the wind. So if we did rate, time, distance, it's going on the west and then returning, I guess it would be east. All right. On the trip west, it has a 60-mile-an-hour tailwind, so the rate is the plane's speed plus 60. Tailwind means it's pushing on the tail, okay? It takes it 4 hours to go. On the way back, the same distance, it takes 5 hours, but it is against the wind, so it's the plane minus that same 60-mile-an-hour wind. Now what? We don't know the distance. Can we just put an expression here, though? And then what are we going to do with those two distances? But how are we going to write an equation? Yes, because it was the same distance out as it was back. Does that make sense, guys? So that will give you the plane speed when you solve that. Somebody pick a mixture problem with percents. Number 8. 7 and 8 are very much the same. So I like to do my mixture problems with cute little pictures. Okay. There's my cute little pictures. We're going to mix some cleanser that is 25% acid. So this bottle's labeled 25%. A second one that's 50% acid. And how many liters should be mixed together to get 30 liters in the end of 40% acid? Okay. So this is 30 liters. We can use 2 variables or we can use 1. If we only use 1, we would call some of this is X. How do you say the rest? If it has to total 30, 30 minus X. Okay? In other words, if it's 5, the other one has to be 25, which is 30 minus 5. Does that make sense? If it's 10, 30 minus 10 would be 20. Okay? Now, what you have to do is you have to multiply these together because this is the percent of this quantity plus this is the percent of this quantity. And this is where everybody gets stuck. They forget to do this. This is also the percent of this quantity. If you did 2 variables for this question, you would have said the 2 quantities together have to total 30 liters. And you would say 25% of this plus 30% of this has to total, and you would still have to do 40% of this. Okay, anybody wants to do 2 variables, there's the setup. I cannot stress enough. Don't try to do all the decimals in your head. You will make a mistake, okay? Use your calculator. People always trying to do the decimals in their head and they make mistakes, including me. Yes. It'd be 0.50. Thank you. Yep, down here, this one should have been 0.50. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Because it was 50%. Never be afraid to correct me. Or ask. Because I promise I won't be mad even if... Alright, one more? Yes. On 4A, number 19, is that one with 3 variables or something? You know what? I'm going to set up the word problem super fast, and then I'll do that question. And if I don't get done, I promise I'll finish it anyway. Which one am I doing? 11? This is a really great question you've asked, if somebody got this far as trying this, because this is a weird one. I'm going to set it up the same, but it says we're draining and replacing. I'll read it to you. Story time. The radiator of Michelle's car contains 6.3 liters of antifreeze and water. This mixture is 30% antifreeze. How much should she drain out and replace with pure antifreeze so that it will be a mixture of 50%? So the final product she wants to be 50%. What is it now? 30. What is she adding? Pure. Pure is 100%. Okay. This is the tricky part. She wants to wind up with 6.3. What does she have right now? She has 6.3 right now, but what's she going to do with some of that? Take it out, subtract it, and that exact same amount she takes out, she's going to replace with 100%, so this is going to be X. So the equation would be what is the other worksheet? 4? Shoot. All right, guys, we're going to have to talk fast. Actually, I'm going to stop the video.